Scaredy Camp by Russ Boyack. All right, so as we're reading, I want you to keep in mind the word ferocious. Ferocious means wanting or devouring great quantities of food. It says, I'm starving. It's a huge sandwich. So if you say that you're ferocious, you are starving or very hungry. The ferocious bear was looking for food. Oh, he had a ferocious appetite. Okay, so also as we're reading, keep in mind who is the main character, Mr. Martinez or Quinn? And what is the setting of the story? Are they camping or are they at Quinn's school? What is the main problem in the story? Sarah and Quinn hear scary noises, or Sarah's dad is lost? And then I want you to think about, have you ever been scared of a scary sound? Would you go to look and see what that sound was? Or would you stay where you are? All right, Scaredy Camp by Russ Boyack. Scaredy Camp, written by Russ Boyack, illustrated by Thomas Boatwright. So Thomas Boatwright drew the pictures. Sarah and I are drifting off to sleep when we hear something scraping against the tent. Did you hear that? Sarah whispers. I nod, and we wait to see if it will repeat. Rain patters against the nylon, and I can hear it striking the surface of a nearby lake. The downpour started as soon as we arrived at the campsite just outside town. So Sarah and I could barely lift the tent. She promised me a weekend of fishing, campfires, and s'mores. That turned into endless rounds of goldfish while her dad fished for a trout in a rain slicker. The rain continues, sounding like white noise on the radio, but the scraping doesn't return. So here's Sarah and Quinn, and they think they hear a scraping on the tent. And they're like, what is that sound? It was probably a leaf or something falling off the branches overhead, I say, but Sarah doesn't look convinced. She huddles deeper into the sleeping bag and closes her eyes. I do the same, allowing the rainfall to lull me into slumber. Slumber means sleep. I wake to Sarah shaking my shoulder, her eyes wide in terror. I heard it again, she said. Something is definitely outside. It's probably just your dad checking up on us or going to the bathroom, I grumble, rubbing my eyes. Why would he be scraping against the tent? So Quinn got woken up out of her sleep, and Sarah hears something outside. She's pretty afraid. Mr. Martinez, is that you? I call out. After a moment, Sarah's dad unzips the bag of his tent next to ours and then unzips our door. He holds a bright lantern and shoves his hooded head inside. Everything okay in here, he says. We're okay, Sarah says, but we heard something outside scraping against the tent. I'm sure it's a ferocious bear looking for an easy feast, he said, smiling. Remember, ferocious means starving or very hungry. Not funny, Dad. It was a perfectly adequate joke, he says, but I'll take a look around. Right, so there's Mr. Martinez, and he's just checking up on Sarah and Quinn, making sure they're okay. He says he's going to take a look around and make sure there's nothing around the campsite. We both thank him, and he zips up our tent. He follows the lantern, the sound of his squishing footsteps, and as he inspects the campsite. I don't see any bears or anything else lurking out here, ladies. Lurking means walking around, he says, poking his head back into the tent. I'm going back to bed before I catch my death. You girls sleep tight and holler if you need anything. All right, so her dad's going to go back to sleep. Night, Mr. Martinez. We thank him again, and I hunker down into my bag, hoping this will be the end of it. Hunker down means kind of just get comfy and cozy. Just as I'm about to drift off to dreamland, Sarah shines a flashlight into my face and hisses, Quinn, wake up. Someone's outside. Seriously, Sarah. I was just about to finally zonk out. I say with a groan. She shushes me, and then I hear footsteps squishing through the muck outside. Too many to just one person or animal. So lots of footsteps, not just one animal or one person. I hear lots of footsteps. Sarah whimpers, and suddenly the footsteps fall silent. She desperately grasps the flashlight under her face as if she were telling a ghost story. Then something strikes the side of our tent, and we both jump. Something else knocks into the opposite side, and we crawl into the center of the space, wrapping our arms around each other. The tent walls start to shake violently, as if we're sitting in the middle of a tornado. Outside, we hear laughter. We both scream. Oh no, so their tent is shaking violently, and they have no idea what it is. Now Quinn and Sarah are both really afraid and screaming. Just as quickly as the shaking of the tent began and ended, leaving us clinging to each other, listening to the rain patter. I'm terrified, Sarah says. I clear my throat, trying to act as though I'm not petrified, and say, probably just the wind. The tent door opens, and we scream as Sarah's dad shoves his head inside. Why are you screaming? Something just made the tent shake like crazy, Sarah squeals. All right, so there's Mr. Martinez, and he's checking up on Sarah and Quinn again. He says, why are you screaming? And they say, somebody was shaking the tent. Her dad begins. I didn't hear anything, but I was sound asleep before you started screeching. Since the rain stopped, it was most likely the gasp of the storm. He leaves, and we listen to him squishing around the campsite. He doesn't find anything, and he returns to the tent. Sarah sighs and says, I don't think I'll be able to sleep tonight. Well, if you're not going back to sleep, we can take a look around for ourselves, I say. I start putting my shoes on. Sarah shoots me an expression of surprise and fright. Nope, not happening. I'm going to sit right here with a flashlight until the sun rises. I'll have to look around outside in the dark, I guess, I say, unzipping the tent flap. Sarah whimpers as I will step out into the darkness. The clouds have already started to part, exposing a bright moon. I stand outside the tent for a minute as my eyes adjust to the darkness. My shoes make little sucking and squishing noises as I walk. Behind me, Sarah's flashlight beams bounces around the campsite as she climbs from the tent. I turn around to help Sarah just as her light flashes across something in the tree overhead. Sarah, shine the flashlight up there, I whisper, pointing above the tent. The bright beam reveals an old-looking lantern suspended from the branch. It wasn't there when we arrived at the campsite. Without a word, Sarah hands me the flashlight, scrambles up the tree, and grabs the lantern. She starts to climb down and stops. Quinn, look, she says, jabbing her finger at the tent. I raise the light and shine it on the top of the tent. It's covered by small streaks, muddy handprints, as if children were pawing at the tent or trying to climb on top of it. So in this picture, she found handprints of children So maybe children were tapping the tent, and that's what they heard or made the tent shake. Sarah climbs down the tree and we inspect our find. It's a very old oil lantern and thick glass on the sides, but it sloshes as though still filled with fuel. I want to go home, Sarah whines. Morning isn't far away, I say, trying to calm her as much as myself. Let's play some go fish until sun comes up. Sarah gives me a sad nod, and we climb into the tent. Just as I'm zipping up the flap, I think I see the figure of a child standing in the shallow water near the shore. There's kind of a figure of a tiny child right here. It's Quinn and Sarah thinking about playing Go Fish. The end.